You hear them every time you're at church, and worship doesn't start until they've been rung. But how much do you really know about the St. John's bells? The first bell is nearly 135 years old and predates the current church building.
St. John's has 3 bells. The first one dates from 1890. It was the money was donated for the bell and also the belfry by the Frauenverein, which is the Ladies' Aid. They bought the bell and paid for the work on the belfry for $1,500. The bell weighs 2,000 pounds and it rings at pitch F. Now, for this church, when this church was built in 28 and 29, the Schrugi family donated the bells. A large bell, which weighs 2,000 pounds and rings at pitch F, and a smaller bell, which weighs 500 pounds and rings at pitch C.
It wasn't planned to have 2 bells ring in the same pitch, but the mistake wasn't discovered until the second bell was engraved, hoisted to the belfry, and rung. So the congregation decided to keep the bell. That hasn't been the only issue with the St. John's bells over the years.
Well, a terrible disaster was averted by Jim Miner, who was the properties manager at that time. One of the bell ropes had broken, so he had to go up into the steeple to fix it. And when he did, he discovered that one of the bells was leaning precariously into another bell. If that had broken, it would have ruined both bells. A timber had cracked, and a 1/2-inch bolt had corroded down to 1/8 of an inch. So of course those had to be repaired. It was just a miracle, a coincidental miracle, that disaster was averted.
We're thankful that the tower bells still welcome us to worship. You're likely more familiar with the other bells at St. John's, and their history is much more recent.
St. John's got its first set of bells donated in the fall of 1992. At that point in time, 2 octaves were donated, and since then we've expanded to a 4-octave handbell choir. We also have 3 octaves of chimes that we use today. The adult handbell choir started pretty soon after the bells were donated, and it's obviously continued to today, where we have a full choir of 11 ringers. We also have had a junior handbell choir over the years. This has consisted of 8th graders and sometimes 7th graders who get to start playing bells while they're in grade school and experience their first taste of ringing then. We also hope that they enjoy it, and hopefully sometimes some of them will transition to the adult choir.
But the adult choir isn't the only way that handbells can be played.
So handbells is a standard instrument in a lot of ways, but there are a variety of ways that you can play it, and one of those varieties shows up in the number of ringers that you have. Obviously, a lot of the pieces that we do are with a full handbell choir, but you can also play with a small ensemble or even a solo or duet piece. There are different kinds of music written for all of those sizes of groups.
And although handbells might look intimidating, it's actually not a hard instrument to learn.
People always look at the handbell choir playing in church and say, "Oh my goodness, that looks so hard. There is no possible way I could learn how to play bells." And my response always is, I can teach anybody to play bells. If you can read music, that's a definite plus and that helps. But even if you can't, as long as you can count, if you can count to 4 or count to 3 or maybe sometimes count to 6, and you can know which your 2 notes on the page are, we can teach you everything else that you need to learn in order to play successfully in a handbell choir.
If you're interested in learning more about handbells, please talk to Christy or any member of the handbell choir. They'd love to tell you more about this unique instrument.